this time, I'll call this meeting of the Bastrop Independent School District to order. Let the record show that the quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that a notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. At this time, would you please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, one nation. If you please remain standing at this time, we have Chaplain Dale Burke with the Bastrop Christian Ministerial Alliance will offer our opening prayer this evening, and being right up front in the middle, appreciate you coming out here.
Well, Heavenly Father, we come together tonight, Lord, of a very important time. Lord, as we start this school year, Father, there's two scriptures that stand in my mind. Unless the Lord builds a house, we labor in vain. And how good and pleasant it is that brethren dwell together in unity. So, Father, tonight, I pray for wisdom for each one of the school board members here tonight. Lord, that they have been selected for this position. Lord, I thank you tonight that you'll give them wisdom in all that they're doing and planning for this new year and oversight of it. But Lord, I pray for all of as we start this new year, Lord, with different changes for online learning, and Lord, we pray grace and mercy for each of the teachers and all of the staff, the administrators. Lord, at this time, Lord, I thank you that as the board comes together tonight and this community here, Lord, I thank you that we all work together, Lord, and together we are better, Lord, as we're guided by you and your Holy Spirit. Holy Spirit, we just thank you that you will put peace in each of the hearts of the people and the students of all ages, Lord, here as they are starting a new path this year. We just thank you, Lord. This will be a great year. We thank you for it. Safety, wellness. We come against any viruses coming into this school. We say it will not come into this school. We thank you, Lord, right now in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain Burke. That was very appropriate. Thank you for coming out here this evening. At this time, Mr. Edwards, would you introduce our student speaker for character education trait for August Respect, please?
Yes, I certainly would, and it's my pleasure. I just had the pleasure of walking back there and meeting Luke and his mom, and we appreciate you being here. Luke Kadura is a senior at Cedar Creek High School. He'll speak this evening about respect. Luke participates in robotics, plays golf, and his parents are Tracy and Rodney Kadura. Thank you, Luke, for coming out. If you come to the mic.
What is objectively the best way to treat someone? Now, that's not a particularly easy question to answer. However, New York Times bestselling authors Mark and Angel Chernoff attempt to answer this difficult question in one of their blog posts about how to be better people. In this blog, they say, "Don't be lazy and make judgments about people. Be kind. Ask their stories. Listen. Be humble. Be open. Be teachable. Be a good neighbor." Now, at first glance, that seems like a lot to do for someone that you may never see again, someone that's a complete stranger, until you realize that all of those actions, all of those traits come down to one, and that one trait is respect. Respect is one of the best gifts you can give to someone, not just because it betters you as a person, but because it has the potential to better them. Giving someone respect gives them a role model to base their life on, gives them a person to look up to in order to be able to give respect to others. So your one action to giving respect to someone that you barely even know can make them more likely to respect other people, and those people respect other people, until you've created and benefited hundreds of thousands of lives just on your basic action of treating others with respect. The world is a scary place right now. It's full of fear and anger and hate, and it may seem that one person, that yourself cannot do anything to fight that, but it's really easy to just do one thing, to give someone the best gift that you can possibly give, and that's to treat them with respect. Thank you.
Luke, thank you very much. That was great. This time we'll move to our open forum. Ms. Barrientos, do we have anybody that signed up? Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, we'll move into our superintendent's report and board discussion. The first item is return to school update. Mr. Edwards.
Well, thank you so much. If we can cue that PowerPoint real quick there. What I wanted to do this evening, actually Dr. Olivares and I are kind of working in tandem. I'm going to give some numbers about first day and the processes that we're following as a way of reminder and kind of where we're stayed today. And then Dr. Olivares and some of our outstanding teachers will present a video on how their first day went. And you'll see it straight from the classroom, so that's always exciting. So as we look at the back to school, what I wanted to do is start by very encouraging numbers. When we look at our enrollment from our verification status, we're at 11,741. By comparison, what that does is when we left last March, we were at 11,479. I think those are positive numbers. Now, keep in mind, we're still in the transition period, and we'll see how the numbers look once we get into September, but that's 262 new students. And on behalf of all of us in Bastrop Independent School District, our teachers, our staff, my team, and you all, we just want to thank the parents and the families for the opportunity to continue to serve. These are very trying times. Difficult decisions have to be made, but I think this shows that providing us the opportunity to serve their children is a very positive step. When we look at verification, we have 81% of our updated information in Skyward. What that means, and this is well ahead of any trends we've had in the past, what this means is that parents in our community and the school district have gone in and updated all their information in the system, which makes us more efficient, able to communicate more easily, and get the data we need to better serve them. So those are very positive numbers. Staffing, we are up to 1,341 total staff with 205 new hires into the district. And I'd like to thank our principals, assistant principals, our managers, and especially HR for putting a bow on it and getting that process all wrapped up. So well done as far as that goes. That's 1,341 staff. That does not include SSC, SFE, or any of our contracted services. Those are BISD employees. So again, that's a tribute. And I just at this moment would be remiss if I didn't state thank you to all of them for coming to work. These are scary times. There was a lot of questions asked. We believe that we put together an outstanding plan and answered the questions along the way, and we'll continue to work with our staff as we continue forward. The next slide is health and safety. We continue, that's at the forefront of all of our minds. Of course, the first day of school and instruction is a close second. But before we can get to that, we have to continue to make sure that we have the health and safety under control in our school district. I want to remind, and for the public that probably doesn't know this, I have weekly conference calls every Monday afternoon, one with the Travis County Health Authority, followed immediately by the Bastrop County Authority. And in the Bastrop County call on a weekly basis, we're also joined by the mayors, our county judge from each of the cities, and of course, Dr. Walks, our health authority. And so we're continually talking about the guidelines and the updates and the numbers to ensure that we're keeping an eye on it, keeping the trends positive as we can as we make our decisions. And then on top of that, we have assigned a COVID-19 site coordinator at each campus. The reason that we feel this is important is this is a point of contact that a staff member can go to this person at the campus. It's also a way for us to push information out so that we try to remain consistent. As you all can imagine, with 1,300 employees on several different facility sites, consistency can be an issue. So when we get these groups of people together, our coordinators, we continue to hone those processes. And we met as recently as last Friday before teachers came back. Following along with health and safety, we continue to use the three-pronged approach: prevention, mitigation, and response. Prevention, I think our teachers can attest to this. They've probably had more staff development than they would like to admit at this point so far this year. But it's critical, it's very important. Staff and student training, self-screening, it's required of all of our staff, and when we introduce students, that'll be required as well. And of course, visitor screening, as you all experienced when you came into our facility. As we talk about mitigation factors, face coverings are a must. We do not take this lightly, and we do need to continually remind each other and take personal responsibility for ourselves and what we're doing for others. Hand washing and sanitizing, with reminders. We've posterized our buildings and facilities. You can just walk down the hallway right here and you will see posters to that effect. Cleaning and disinfecting. And along with that, I'd like to reiterate the fact that we've also done some airflow system adjustments and increased filtration in our nurse's office and our isolation stations to ensure even a safer air quality. Daily routines, as you all know, processes and protocols and habits create safe environments, and so we continue to monitor those. We have already created isolation spaces at every one of our facilities, and an isolation space, in the event that someone were to come in with symptoms, they would be moved into this isolation space, in the case of a student, until they could be picked up, in the case of an adult, until they can either take themselves home or we can get them home. Disinfection of used spaces. If there was a positive case, we have hospital-grade sanitizing materials to go in there and clean those rooms or spaces as needed. And then, of course, notification is critical. One of the biggest questions parents ask is, will we be notified? And yes, we have parents that are exposed will be notified. Actual parents that had maybe in their room would also be notified. So people will be notified, and we have the templates ready for our administrators to prepare and send out. As we look at instructional options, and Lila will get into much more in depth into this, what I did want to, for the public's sake and for the board, just remind everyone that we started today as our first day of school into our 3-week transitional period. What that means is that we've asked that all students, with the exception of very few special populations, stay at home and learn virtually. Then after the 3-week period, assuming that our meetings and our trends continue to be safe, on September 9th, we would start our phase-in plan for on-site instruction, where students would come back to school and attend school inside our schools. The important numbers that go along with that are, as we look at our survey results, we sent out a survey to parents and we asked them to commit, to make a choice. So they went into the system and did that. At this point, 61% have elected to stay online at this point. 39% have elected on-site learning at the point that we get there on September 9th, if all things are safe. And that's of the 78% of people who've entered into Skyward. So we have about 22% of people that are either undecided, don't want to commit yet, but we will continue to seek their input so that we can get these numbers by September 9th. Curbside, I have to give a lot of credit to our food service department. We, on the heels of just closing down summer feeding, immediately today we rolled right back around and started our regular school lunch program. Although all our kids are at home at virtual, they can come to school between 9 and 11 and pick up a breakfast and a lunch. They can go to their elementary, intermediate, or middle school, any one of them, to pick up a lunch. And then for high school, they'd have to go to the separate high school site. And then to help with that, we've also launched a mobile app where they can order their meal through NutriSlice on their app to make sure that their meal is ready for them when they get to the school to pick it up. And that's kind of a high view start to the school year. I'd be glad to answer any questions if you have any at this time. I think Lila will get into, not I think, I know because I've seen her presentation. Dr. Olivares and some of our teachers get into some of the greater detail. If you want to wait and ask questions after theirs, that's fine as well.
I had a question. When the 6139, are we seeing more kids at the high school age wanting to come to class, or in the, we've gotten neutral on those numbers?
We have actually, and what's interesting, Kelly, we just had some anecdotal conversation over here, Ashley and I did, about high school students now. Some of them have been in conditioning or in maybe band or something. they're here and they want to come. And so we're seeing a trend more so to the high school kids wanting to come back. But we do have these broken down. I just don't have them with me tonight.
And Mr. Edwards, the enrollment of 11,741, isn't that like 300 or 400 more than we did the year before last year?
262, and so that's what I was saying. It's really a good number. We usually, as you know, we track our numbers, and I was explaining earlier, with the kids being in virtual learning, the attendance is going to be like a day behind, because high school kids have until that night to finish their attendance, their schoolwork, so that we won't get the attendance till the next day. So our numbers will lag, about 24 hours. So we'll start putting those in your board packet of information as we go forward.
But one thing I want to point out, I think it's 11,741 number kind of tracks with our modeling.
That's correct.
Growth in the area. And that is being very consistent with how fast ISD is growing.
Continuing to grow, yes, sir. Thank you.
Dr. Olivers.
Well, good evening, Mr. Muchink, Mr. Edwards, and members of the board. We're so excited to be with you tonight. It feels like we have been planning for the start of the school year, because we have, for months. And through it all, there was a lot of training, and we'll talk a little bit about that training. There's also a lot of active listening, a lot of understanding, both where our families were and where our staff were. And I do believe that we have come such a long way since March to make it to this day, the beginning of the school year. And certainly, I can tell you tonight, was it a perfect launch? No, but I am so inspired by how well it did go. And those things that, maybe we hit some bumps on the road with someone logging in here and there, we are getting resolved actively. So I am very inspired by the collective power of our community, the grace that our students have, the attention and the dedication that our teachers and campus leaders have, and our district as a whole. So today is a day of just inspiration and truly just a testament to the dedication and the fact that we can do this together. So let's get started. So our teachers returned to campus on Monday, August 10th. But as you know, a lot of our teachers were here the week before, getting their classrooms ready, and the week before that, trying to get acclimated. We ran a 3-week Jumpstart program that went all the way up to August the 6th. And so we have had a lot of teachers and staff already on board at our campuses. But officially, all of our teachers returned on Monday, August the 10th. And when they got here, they hit the ground running. We did a lot of listening. We did a lot of surveying from our experience in the spring on what it was that they needed training in. So they received very intentional district and campus training that was focused on online teaching and learning schedules, because schedules are different during the first 3 weeks of school than when students come back. They received training on digital learning tools such as Google Classroom and Seesaw. Seesaw is our new application for our littles, our elementary students, do better in a platform that is suited for them to be able to respond with pictures and have a little bit more of that visual interaction. And so we were excited to launch that this summer. Online tools. So we have created a comprehensive list of online tools for every grade level band. So elementary campuses have a set of online tools that they can play with a focus during the first 3 weeks of certain applications. Same thing for our intermediate campuses, our middle school campuses, and our high school campuses. And so very specialized online tools for whatever grade level you're in. This is twofold. One, we want to definitely meet students where they are with their developmental level, but also we want to make sure that there is variety and choice so that as they're learning virtually, they are able to stay engaged with their teachers. And then we also trained on our multi-tiered systems of support with our partners and SEL. And so we really wanted to make sure that as our teachers came back, we made no assumptions about where kids were and what their needs were, and kind of gave that academic with student services approach to our training. So I think it went well. But beyond the regular training, which in a normal year, pre-COVID year, would be in and of itself kind of a great feat, our teachers also focused on parent and student outreach. So on top of their learning, they also were calling to check in on our families. You know, we called it our campaign to reach and teach 100% of our students so that we could make those connections. Another important thing that they did last week was set up one-to-one appointments with our families so that this week they could call and make sure that their students understood exactly how to work, the platform that they're in, their classroom expectations, etc. And also our campus has distributed 700 family hotspots, approximately 1,709 Chromebook devices, and over 1,200 instructional packets. And of interest to note here is that we do have additional hotspots, 3,800 coming to our community in the next couple of weeks, and so we are actively trying to plan for distribution, what we call our wave 2. So for our families that are waiting on those, they are definitely coming, and we're going to have a plan for rolling those out. So this effort was monumental, and in 2 days' time that were the distribution days, our campuses, some of them reported having seen more than 50% of their kids come through to pick up one of these 3 things, or sometimes, 2 or 3 of them, right? So that was very impressive. And then finally, I wanted to share with you, before we get into the fun part of showing you how our kids have learned today, wanted to show some outreach numbers. So in the month of August, in front of you, you see our School Messenger. School Messenger is our communication platform that we've adopted based on feedback from our teachers and staff. They really wanted us to be able to have a more comprehensive outreach system. So now teachers can make calls from their computers. They can listen to parent messages on it. They can send out text messages and emails. So in the month of August alone, 166,820 text messages exchanged, 10,284 emails, 18,392 phone calls that were made. That is a percentage of 97.6 of our students and families that were reached. So it's a pretty monumental feat to go along with their learning. I'm very proud of our teachers and our campuses for this effort. So now this is the part that just gets me just so happy and excited to have our children back with us. We created a first day of school video in partnership with our communications team and some teacher partners. So there was a few teachers that jumped on board and said, yes, like, let's do this. Let's show our community how great it is to have our kids back today. And you're going to hear a testimonial as well. But we had a few teacher teams that I would like to recognize. Amanda Brendel and Jamie Williams are a co-teach pair that teach 3rd grade at Emil Elementary School. Ms. Ada Beltran teaches kindergarten at Red Rock, and Ms. Michelle Mathis is a 4th grade math and science teacher at Red Rock. You're going to get to hear from her in a little bit. Ms. Deborah Day Hensley is a 5th grade math teacher at BIS. Ms. Corrine Clark teaches English 2 at Cedar Creek High School, and Mr. Robert Hill teaches AP U.S. History and on-level U.S. History. It is a school night, but we have a few of them here tonight, so if you're here, will you please stand and be recognized? So, and you'll give them a wave. We have Ms. Mathis, we have Ms. Deborah Day, and we have Ms. Clark here tonight. So, we're excited. So now we're going to show you what they did today.
Hi, this is Michelle Mathis from Red Rock Elementary.
This is Mrs. Hensley calling from Bastrop Intermediate School. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
We're FaceTiming so I can guide her how to connect. And then I have some parents waiting already, so I'm trying to connect more parents.
You were able to get my text messages for joining the Google Classroom and signing up. Yes, that's good. Excellent.
¿Completó la forma que estaba en línea para ver si necesitaba una?
I'm Mrs. Hensley, and I'm going to be your 5th grade math teacher this year.
As we go through this morning, and every morning this week, we're going to try to get to know each other, what you like, what you don't like, because we're one big family and we're going to be together a lot. So it's really important that I know all about you.
Are you guys excited about the first day of school?
It's not really a quiz. It's just me asking questions about you so that I can get to know you better.
Araceli, do you like math? Jocelyn, you know a lot of math? Good.
So get used to logging in at 9:35 every day for math class.
La luna, ¿y cómo suena? Valeria, ¿cómo suena la L? La L.
Oh, Alexis, Jeremiah. Oh, yeah. You are not alone, Adeline. You've already got some friends in your class who agree with you.
Let me tell you a little bit about Seesaw here. So Seesaw will show up with your assignments. So anywhere from 7:15 to 7:45 if you'll log into Zoom. So how you're gonna do that is go into Clever first, then get on Seesaw, and then hit that Zoom link button, okay? Anything that has one of these little like chain links on has a link in it, and you can click on it and it's gonna take you to different places.
All right, who was it who needed help with their 5th period? Was that you, Irvin?
Yeah, I needed help with my 5th period.
Okay. Did she or he send you an email with like the Google Classroom code?
And then the last thing I need to do is we need to schedule a one-on-one meeting with you and your daughter to walk through Google Classroom and the other applications we'll be using this year.
I'd like to tell you a little bit about Ms. Mathis. Ms. Mathis is going to give us a brief testimonial. She is a 4th grade science and math teacher at Red Rock Elementary School. She is a 15-year teacher veteran. It's her 2nd year at Red Rock Elementary. She does everything for us. ACE, after-school tutoring, check. She represents us in science UIL. She is also a mentor for our district and as well as a buddy teacher. And she has taught all the grades, 2nd, 3rd, self-contained classes, 5th grade science. She's done it all, and she has agreed to join us to give us a quick testimonial. Will you please help me welcome Ms. Mathis?
So first of all, I'd like to say thank you for allowing me to come back into a classroom. Since March, I've done so many things around my house, it's not even funny. But first of all, I truly miss my kids, and seeing them in this morning on Zoom and being excited about seeing their classmates just melted my heart away this morning. One little boy this morning, he wasn't able to get on because his mom didn't quite understand how to get on through everything. So we talked to him this afternoon, myself and Miss Rivers, my partner teacher, and once he understood that his classmates were going to be on there in the morning and he was going to be able to see them, he jumped up and down for joy. It just, oh my gosh, it was just so exciting for us. All we could do on our end was like clap for him and everything, and he just kept screaming and jumping up and down. So I just like to say that students are excited about learning. Either they want to be with us on Zoom, and some of them want to come back, but their parents won't let them yet, and that's understandable. But overall, just thank you for allowing us to do this job. We want to continue to teach our kids, no matter if it's virtually or in person. We're up for the challenge. It's going to be a new journey for all of us, but we're ready to hit it head on.
All right, so definitely a great testament to the dedication of our teachers. Do we have any questions from the board about our start of the school year?
Dr. Oliveris, thank you very much for your team and your hard work, and we really appreciate it.
Of course.
Great update, thanks.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, moving along on the agenda, the financial report and human resource and administrative service report is for information only. We do not have a report for operations or the police department. That will move us into communications and community relations report. The 2019-2020 ACE grant update, Mr. Vino. Thank you for coming out.
I want to first thank you all for allowing me to come and share some of the exciting things that have happened in our year 2 of our ACE program. So you might remember that the purpose of the ACE program is to provide academic enrichment for students in an after-school and summer setting. And we do that through tutorials and also through enrichment activities. We have a well-qualified staff, our coordinators, tutors, and assistants who work with the kids. And our focus is on providing research-based and engaging activities that are intentionally developed to mirror what happens during the school day. Our overall goals are to improve academic performance, improve student attendance, improve behavior, promotion rates, and for older students, graduation rates. We operate at 10 campuses, all 6 elementaries, 2 intermediates, and 2 middle schools. This past year, just like the year before, we had an external evaluator who came and visited our programs and gave a report. You have the executive summary, which I encourage you to look over. But what I'd like to share is a little bit of the more human side of our program this past year. So as we went into September through March, it was a normal school year. We were serving probably about 800 students across our 10 campuses. In December, we did a survey of our parents, staff, and students to see how things were going. And these are some of the comments that we received from teachers and other staff members on campus. We were definitely encouraged by their support. They felt like what we were doing was valuable, meaningful, and was making a positive difference. So we definitely felt encouraged that we were moving towards those goals of the program. Wherever we saw things that maybe didn't measure up, I haven't included them here, but we definitely tried to work on those and to use them as goals for improvement. Of course, then March hit, and as we all know, things changed. And so once we realized what the plan was for the district, ACE sprung into action, and we decided to contribute where we could as well. Our site coordinators reached out and contacted all of their ACE families to see how they could be of assistance. In some cases, they explained to families about meal pickup, about device and packet pickup, helped them to navigate the changes that were happening. We also tried to figure out how we could continue to provide enriching activities to kids. And so we asked parents if they would be interested in having activities. I created a Google Drive where my coordinators could put just a couple of little activities that the kids could do at home. And we ended up with 70 pages of science, arts and crafts, cooking, puzzles, challenge activities. And we mailed them to over 275 kids who were part of our program. Some of our site coordinators created Google Classrooms and had videos, project challenges, prizes, and other opportunities for interaction. My coordinator at LPE, her family has a farm, and so she created videos to show the kids when they were planting watermelon, and followed that along with the growth as the watermelon was growing. Our coordinator at Cedar Creek Middle School realized that more than anything, her kids just needed to be able to interact with each other, and so she would set up meetings so that they could jump on Google and just converse with each other, and that meant a lot to them. As we approached summer, we knew that we wanted to have a summer program. We weren't really sure what it was going to look like because everything was kind of up in the air. So we had a scenario 1 and a scenario 2, and we kind of planned for both. And somehow we ended up with something called scenario 3. And what that ended up being is we had weekly themes, and every 2 weeks we would distribute supplies to our families. They would meet us at the feeding locations and pick up supplies for their kids. We provided lesson plans to go along with those in STEM, arts and crafts, cooking. We added physical fitness activities. We had a coders class that the kids could participate in at the intermediate and middle school level, and it was so popular that our coordinator who was running that decided to try it with the elementary kids, and they were doing coding as well. We invited Mad Science to come and present so our kids could log into that, as well as Small Bites, which is a program that focuses on nutrition. We provided virtual reality field trips by giving our kids Google Cardboards that they could use with their phones. We had a debate club that was running, and we always had live meetings so that the kids could interact with us and interact with each other. You can see some pictures from our first supply distribution. My family engagement specialist was able to get Arby's to generously donate the bags for the supplies that were going out to families. So at the elementary level, our theme was Road Trip 2020, and we went to different regions around the country and did activities related to that. And so when we visited the Pacific Northwest, the kids did the Oregon Trail Covered Wagon. Crocodile origami was for a visit to Louisiana. We also had Mardi Gras mask, and one of our really popular activities was our mason jar aquarium with Chad, which actually lit up. At the end of this summer, we celebrated with a virtual pizza party. All families who were still participating received a pizza kit from Seesaw's, and we had the kids bake their pizza safely with families at home, and then we all jumped onto a meeting where we could enjoy the pizza and just talk about how things had been for the summer. At our intermediate and middle school, our theme was Around the World with ACE, and you can see some of our kids and the activities that they were able to participate in. Everything from creating the best tasting snack they could from a cracker to a virtual karate lesson during our Asia Week. When we surveyed students and parents at the end of our summer program, we asked them many things about their opinion on how things went, but what was of particular interest to me were the answers to these next two questions. Did the students and parents feel like they had enhanced prior skills as a result of the ACE program? And you can see that the majority said they agreed or strongly agreed with that statement. And then did they learn new skills? And again, agreed or strongly agreed. We also found something interesting when we asked about preference for future programs. We felt like kids would definitely want to be back in person doing summer ACE, but instead we found that a lot of them preferred the online program or a combination of the two. So we're definitely using that feedback to plan for future ACE. And right now we are getting ready to kick off a virtual ACE for any students during the school year who are going to be schooling at home and want a little bit extra support and activities. So that is our ACE program in a nutshell. Are there any questions?
I just want to say thank you for thinking outside the box and really doing such a great job serving our children. This was excellent. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I have an amazing group that I work with, and I appreciate that.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
And but first, I would like to say I've heard nothing but wonderful things from parents, and so thank you very much for going the extra mile during these times.
Thank you.
You said 800 last year were seen, at least before COVID. How do y'all pick the number? Is it limited by funds or just by the students that sign up?
So at the intermediate and middle school level, we have an open enrollment. So it's basically based on students who are interested to be part of the program. I'm sorry. At the elementary school, we have a fee-based after-school program, so that makes it a little bit more difficult because we want to try to keep both of those programs going strong. And so we have enrollment based on a set of criteria and teacher recommendation.
Gotcha.
So it's basically students who have the most need at the elementary level.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I think it's only appropriate at this time, since we were able to join together as a board, and on behalf of the board, these reports are awesome, and Mr. Edwards and everybody sitting here in the audience and all of our teachers and support staff, on behalf of this board, thank you. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for what you've done. Thank you for your flexibility. Thank you for your big hearts that we saw here this evening, and for caring about this district. And I will tell you, it has been a struggle with this board to be able to show y'all that all summer long when we were unable to get together. So I think it's only appropriate at this time if we please stand and show our gratitude as a board. All right. Mr. Edwards, just one request possibly next month. Can we get a technology update? Seems to be the current way of education. And just if I know we got some devices on back order, and but it'd be kind of that way that I'm sure they're tracking phone calls and with the help desk and needs we're able to fulfill, and just even a report on some of the students that maybe don't have connectability. Just keep us an update on that. Thank you. All right, this time we'll move into the consent agenda item. Would any board member like to pull any of the consent agenda items for discussion? All right, if not, at this time I will announce that I, Ashley Muchink, will be abstaining from this vote. And also at this time I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda items as presented.
So moved.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And one abstain. All right, thank you. This time we'll move into our action items. Ms. Callahan, if you'll please come on down. We will consider approval of the proposed tax rate to be published in the notice of the public meeting to be held in September.
Good evening. Good to see everyone. It seems like forever since we adopted the budget, but it really hasn't been that long. And as you know, this time every year we do bring the tax rate that we'll be presenting at September for adoption. A little different, and we've talked about this many times over the last few months, that this year TEA set district's maximum compressed tax rate. And so the last week of July, we put that information in a template that TEA set out, and then that was set for every district in the state. So our maximum compressed tax rate for the 2021 school year will be 87 cents. And then on top of that compressed tax rate, districts add their golden pennies. And so as we've talked about during the budget process, the district has 4 golden pennies. And for this year, the districts can add, and not just this year, because you could, if you don't adopt it this year, you can add it in future years, but 1 extra penny can be added with board approval. And we talked about that during the budget process. By adding that extra penny, that allows the district higher state aid numbers. And so with that, with the 87-cent maximum compressed tax rate and the 5-cent golden pennies, that gives the district a 92-cent M&O rate, maintenance and operations rate, and our M&O rate for 1920 was 97 cents. So that's a 5-cent reduction in our M&O tax rate for 2021, and so that's good news. And also our debt service tax rate will be 40 cents as prior, so we will be adopting $1.32 for our 2021 tax rate. And so tonight, I'll be glad to answer any questions, but we do recommend the board approve the above tax rate of $1.32 for the 2021 fiscal year that we will then bring to the board for a public hearing and approval in September.
Any questions for Ms. Callahan?
Could you say that number one more time? I'm sorry, the echoes.
$1.32.
Thank you.
I would say also that our value increase ended up being about right at 9.5%. So as you know, there was a minimum tax rate that districts would have and a maximum tax rate during this year. So really we fell kind of in the middle of that.
So, Ms. Callahan, it looks like this is under action items, but it also talks about a meeting held in September.
Yes, that's when we'll actually, so in August, we just bring to the board for approval the rate that we will publish and then bring to the public hearing in September. So we'll actually adopt the tax rate in September, but we ask the board for approval of that rate in August, then move forward.
Okay. Any discussion from the board?
Yeah, one more. Last year we were at a 1.371.
Yes, so we'll be 1.321.
321.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any more questions for Ms. Callahan?
Oh, that's a big drop.
So a 5-cent reduction, yes.
5-cent reduction. Are we going to see?
Our state aid will increase, so yes.
And property tax-wise, have we seen increases? Are the property taxes going to increase to?
The property rate values?
Values, I'm sorry.
Yes, that's, like I said, we're about, and there's still properties that are under review, but about a 9.5% tax rate, value increase, percentage increase. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Callahan? This time, Ms. Callahan, would you please repeat the motion that you would like for us to consider?
Yes, I recommend the board approve the above tax rate to be published and adopted at the September board meeting of adopt 1.321.
I'll make that motion. Do we have a second?
I second.
All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Our motion carries. Ms. Callahan, thank you. It's great news and great work.
Yes, it is.
All right, at this time, we'll move on to action item number B, consider approval of the revision of BISD Student Code of Conduct. Ms. Laura Baker, thank you for being here this evening.
Okay, good evening, Mr. Edwards and board members. So I'm going to go over or highlight the revisions and additions to the 2020-2021 Student Code of Conduct. So as we've heard tonight, health and safety is something that we've addressed as a district, and we wanted to apply that to the Student Code of Conduct as well. And then also, how do we apply the Student Code of Conduct to online and on-site learning? So we provided the following verbiage into our Code of Conduct. The safety and security of BISD students is of the utmost importance. BISD expects students to exhibit safe, respectful, and responsible behavior, not only on school grounds, but in a remote setting. Students who are participating in an online instructional platform may be held accountable for violations of the Student Code of Conduct. The district has disciplinary authority over a student when a student fails to comply with the safety and mitigation protocols of the district, including face coverings. And then under the standards for conduct, we also included that students will adhere to the requirements of the Student Code of Conduct, including all campus and classroom rules, as well as any safety or mitigation measures. Any questions about that before I move on?
Ms. Baker, how do you enforce, or how will we enforce student misconduct online, and if they don't ever come back to the campus?
It depends on the incident. So during the spring, we did encounter several infractions that would have aligned to our Student Code of Conduct. So what typically happens is the administrator that is handling either that referable offense or the violation will reach out to me, and then we'll work through it together to determine an appropriate course of action. And sometimes it's not the traditional consequence that you would think of, but partnering with the parents to come up with something else and maybe think outside the box. And again, it depends on what not COVID related, but unauthorized persons. And this hasn't been in our code of conduct that I'm aware of, but it is recommended by the TASB model. So unauthorized persons. In accordance with Education Code 37.105, a school administrator or district police officer shall have the authority to refuse entry or eject a person from district property if the person refuses to leave peaceably on request, and the person poses a substantial risk of harm to any person, or the person behaves in a manner that is inappropriate for a school setting, and the person persists in the behavior after being given a verbal warning that the behavior is inappropriate and may result in refusal of entry. Next, we did have this in our code of conduct previously, but for last year we didn't. And so I collaborated with our Department of Special Programs and Services, and it addresses students with disabilities. So in accordance with Education Code, a student who receives special education services may not be disciplined for conduct meeting the definition of bullying, cyberbullying, harassment, or making hit list until an ART committee meeting has been held to review the conduct. And this also applies, or is true, for when the assignment of a consequence constitutes a change of placement. So we would have to come to ART. And then lastly, this isn't a new process for our administrators, but again, we wanted to add it to our Student Code of Conduct because it's considerations that our administrators have to take in determining disciplinary action that might result in a removal. And so those considerations are the following. Did the student act in self-defense? Was there an intent or lack of intent at the time the student engaged in the conduct? The student's disciplinary history, a disability that substantially impairs the student's capacity to appreciate the wrongfulness of the student's conduct, a student's status in the conservatorship of the Department of Family and Protective Services or foster care, and then lastly, a student's status as homeless or McKinney-Vento. And those are the proposals for the Student Code of Conduct for this upcoming school year. Any more questions? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Laura. Welcome.
Thank you.
First. The last one you said for removal.
Yes.
Only. That's when those considerations would take place. So that is removal from the classroom?
Correct. I'm glad you mentioned that because I forgot to. So it could include ISS or in-school suspension, out-of-school suspension, a placement to DAP or our Gateway campus, and then a proposal for an expulsion.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Any other questions?
Consideration of those 6 items by the administrator, that would seem to give them a little more discretion in their placements. Is that what I'm reading into that?
Somewhat. It helps them to make a determination of whether or not, I like to use fighting as an example. And so when you look at self-defense, you have to have 2 parties engaging in the fight. So one of the things that they need to consider was one of the students acting in self-defense. So then it may not lead to what we call mutual combat or a fight, if that makes sense. Okay.
And Ms. Baker, may I have to reference to the police chief here behind you. So do these changes, and maybe we already have this in place, since we are doing online learning, and there possibly could be a group of kids that are texting and bullying or even threatening or some other things, does this give us the full authority for our police department to go to that home?
Actually, yes.
Because that home would be considered, if they're online, the campus.
Correct. So we could do that as part of the investigation.
Awesome.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions? All right, this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the revisions of the BISD Student Code of Conduct as presented.
So moved.
We have a motion?
Second.
We have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Ms. Baker, thank you again. We appreciate your hard work there and paying to the details. All right, we'll move along here to item C, consider approval of revisions to the TASB policy DIA local and FFA local. Our presenter here is Ms. Leifer, the wonderful person who's blessed us with all that light reading in this board book for us.
Well, there's more to come next month.
I'm sure there is.
Okay, so good evening, board. Mr. Edwards, thank you for allowing me. I promise I'll keep it to 5 minutes because it is exciting and it is policy. As Mr. Muchik mentioned, I bring to you policy DIA local and FHH local. OCR released its final rulings, amending our Title IX regulations. They were released May of 2020 that go into effect August 14th, last Friday of 2020. The final ruling, it included amendments for public education, pre-K through 12. There's some amendments for secondary ed, but we're just going to talk about public education tonight because that's what pertains to us. The amendments include specificity to the definition of sexual harassment, administrative responsibilities, how these allegations of sexual harassment can be reported. It also includes how the district responds to those reported allegations. Changes in the final reports, how we report that when it revolves around supportive measures that we would provide, as well as disciplinary decisions. It addresses our appeals, it addresses our record keeping, and it does require every single staff member in our district be trained. That does include our contracted services with transportation, child nutrition, and maintenance, and custodial. All of our BISD staff was trained through last Friday, so we've checked that off. But basically, that's a summary of all the amendment changes for sexual harassment in DIA and FHA local policies. Are there any questions about the policies as they were presented in your August board book? Okay, so if there's no questions, I recommend the board approve DIA local and FHA local as presented.
All right, I'll entertain a motion at this time.
So moved.
Have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
Have a second. Okay. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Our motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Leifer. We appreciate it. All right, moving along to the information items. We have a lot of information only here for the board calendar of events is in there. Also some information from the Bastrop Central Appraisal District, their revised proposed budget, as well as their reappraisal plan. We also have revisions to the Bastrop County voting schedule, and also some more TASB policy, DEC locals, and you probably reviewed the single budget purchase, more than 50,000, as well as some more TASB policy updates, 115. Does this board like to add anything else to this meeting?
I'd like to say one thing. I just will reiterate what Ashley said, that it is so refreshing to sit here and see the excitement and the accomplishment that has taken place. We hear so many negative things about schools, so many issues, and I know we have very difficult decisions to make, but just to sit here and hear the enthusiasm and the quality of programming that is taking place is it is it's amazing. It really is, and thank you for all the hard work that's gone into making it that way. And the attitude, the good attitude.
Mr. Dillon?
Mr. Muching, Mr. Edwards, as a parent in the school district and seeing all the messaging and all the things that have come across my email and my son's email, and knowing everything that's gone into for the district to be ready to serve our students and have contact with all of our students is of the utmost importance for our students. I know our teachers appreciate being back in the classroom and seeing the students, but I know the students are really excited about that as well. All the hard work that has gone on, the planning, and the planning that continues. I know we're in this 3-week period of online instruction, and I'm looking forward to any challenges that may arise, and I know we have planned for them. So just Mr. Edwards and your team, all the administration has done an excellent job in preparing us to keep us as safe as we can at Bastrop ISD. Say thank you for that.
Thank you, Mr. Dillon. Also like to do a shout out to the team of the Performing Arts Center. Thank you for opening your doors. Thank you for keeping us all in line and going through the guidelines and all the preparation that you've done as well, and for the technology also. Thank you very much. All right, is there anything else to add to this meeting? All right, are there any objections to adjourning this meeting? If there are no objections, this meeting's adjourned. Thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you.
I know, but the girls, they don't make girl shirts like our shirts, but we got nice